Welcome, everybody. This is Jim Lee from ClimateViewer News. It is May 28th, 2015, and I am doing a spontaneous update on the Texas storms. Now, I decided to take a break from writing because it's strenuous, lengthy, and all that. But let's get over here. So here's my website. It's climateviewer.com, and this is my page, climateviewer.com/resonated. If you want to get in touch with me, there's my social media, or you can always just hit contact right here. So our article for today is how Texas stole California's rain. Now, I've been kind of sitting on this for a while, and I've known about Aquiess and Blue, this company that says they can steer atmospheric rivers, for about 2.5 years. And I've been researching them along. And I've been watching the skies and, watching the 3D stuff and, looking at the satellite images, and stuff's getting crazy. So I decided to tell my side of the story. For the uninitiated, weather modification has been going on since the 1850s. I put a very short version, which turned out to be a long version, of the history of weather modification in the United States. Here, starting with SB and how he wanted to burn forests to make it rain on the East Coast, and on to Charles Hadfield, how he flooded San Diego, and General Dry henceforth. Anyway, moving along, 1946, cloud seeding was officially invented. And the point I like to make with this is, at first, the idea was to, use things like dry ice, fertilizer, even concrete, but mainly silver iodide, to put particles into the sky that water would stick to. And hopefully those water particles would get big enough and they'd fall out into the ground. Even less known fact was that in December of 1949, Irving P. Crick invented the ground-based seeders. They're called smoke plume generators. And as you can see by this photo, here's one right here. These basically cover the entire West Coast. They're on the coast side of the mountain. And when the air comes in from the coast, it lofts this along and hopefully will deposit snow on top of the mountains. So then from 1952 to 1965, quickly cloud seeding started to spread from coast to coast. I'm here in South Carolina. In South Carolina, they were using CO2, silver iodide, and from both air and ground. And that's what these little symbols are. But that quickly expanded between, 1961 and 1988 with Project Skywater. Now, Project Skywater was the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation funded project. When it started in 1961 with $100,000 from Congress, by 1972, it had grown to $6.8 million and encompassed the entire United States. And then here's a Bureau of Reclamation's promotional video called Mountain Skywater. This is on my YouTube. You can watch it right here in the article. And they basically talk about what a good job they're doing. So then in Vietnam, they had Operation Popeye. And you can read all about how the, U.S. Air Force and all the, military officials lied under oath to Congress. And then they were busted. Here's a picture of the cloud seeding bombs that were made at China Lake Naval Air Weapons Station in California, where they are currently doing weather modification to this day. This is called the Cold Cloud Modification System, successfully used in cold fog mitigation and all kinds of other stuff. So cold fog mitigation happens at all the airports. That's a story for another day. But anyway, China Lake, you got to look these guys up. International ban on weather warfare and some transparency in weather modification. So then in 1972, the Weather Modification Reporting Act of 1972 was passed. Then the National Weather Modification Policy Act of 1976, which required people to actually, report their weather modification activities to the government, because the government now took an interest in actually knowing what everybody's up to. So invented in 46, and then by 72, They had found out about what was going on in Vietnam, and suddenly the government cared and was like, "Oh my God, we need to know everything going on." This weather modification programs, policies, programs, problems, policy, and potential. It's like 700 pages. I'm going to read the whole thing when I get some time. But it literally broke down line by line everything going on in America. So they ordered a full accounting of what's going on. And the point I like to make in adding this to the story is because A, people don't know about weather modification, a lot of confusion out there, a lot of BS on the internet. B, this is history. People should know it. And C, cloud seeding went from invention to nationwide experimentation and finally weaponization in less than 30 years. And that's important. So then, those who forget the past are doomed to repeat it. So now we're here today, and there's this video out there. Meteorologists want to gatekeep science data. And when you look at the end of the video, Dr. Louis Usolini and the Storm Prediction Center's Dr. Russell Schneider basically say, we don't know anything about weather modification. They don't really report it to us. We have no clue. When in fact, the Department of Homeland Security had a meeting where they were talking about the steering hurricanes just prior to this guy lying on the video. So watch the video of the directors of the National Weather Service and the Storm Prediction Center saying, we don't know anything about weather modification, and then go realize they're lying through their teeth. And so the point is now, in that 30-year span, we went from it just being a commercialized, let's cloud seed to make water kind of thing to a weapon. And here we are once again. This is 1994, 2 different FOIA, Freedom of Information Act requests. These were obtained by the Sunshine Project, one for the U.S. Air Force and one for the U.S. Navy, both saying that once again, the military is actively engaged in weather warfare studies. The second one from the U.S. Navy is from the Warhead Development Branch at China Lake. So the same guys, China Lake, that supplied the weather modification tools to Vietnam, once again today are experimenting in weather warfare. Let's move along. So the point is, we're there again. We went 30 years from the birth of cloud seeding to the weaponization. Once again, weather's starting to be weaponized. Nobody knows about what's going on. There's very little transparency. So let's get to Texas and California. Cloud seeding's old school. This is from 2002. This is a chart obtained from Dr. Jim Fleming's book, Fixing the Weather. Everybody should read it if you're interested in the subject. And on the west side of Texas, you can see these are predominantly the counties that are, doing cloud seeding on a daily basis. And you can see right here, provided funding $2.4 million for cloud seeding in 2012. And that was from the Texas Department of Agriculture. And, similarly in California, you can see that the cloud seeding projects, they're circled here and numbered, and the numbers correlate with who paid for it. So Lake Alomar was paid for by PG&E. Tahoe is paid for Desert Research Institute. Desert Research Institute is a major weather modification studies college. So here, Sacramento Municipal Utility District. These are the people paying for the weather modification in California that has not worked. They've been paying for it since the 40s. So across America, cloud seeding has been going on a daily basis. California still has its drought. It's completely ineffective. Millions and millions of dollars have been stolen from people who thought these guys would actually make it rain. So why are we talking about cloud seeding at all? If it's ineffective, if it's completely bogus, it's snake oil salesmen, then why would we even bring it up? Because, that's, if anybody really gets into the understanding about weather modification, it's the first thing that comes up. So, all they do is cloud seeding. Cloud seeding's safe and it works and yada, yada. A, it doesn't work. B, it's not safe. And C, there are better things out there now. Before we move along right here, I've got, despite the repeated failures to prove the science behind cloud seeding, every Tom, Dick, and Harry's getting in on the mix. Oliver's Travels offers perfect wedding day weather for $100,000. euros. How we made the Chernobyl rain, how Beijing used rockets to keep the opening ceremony dry, and when cloud seeding goes wrong, cement chunks fall from the sky. Yes, the Russian Air Force was dumping cement, and yes, that was for cloud seeding. And then here are the listed reported NOAA weather modification activities. These are far from complete. We're going to get a complete, a complete listing via Freedom of Information Act request here in the near future. That's a promise to you. And then over here at the World Meteorological Organization, their expert team on weather modification has the register from 2003 and 2005, and that's about it. None of the rest of it's public, so we don't even know what's going on. That's the point I like to make. Now, so cloud seeding back in the mystery realm, not in public view, no transparent, very little transparency, and the military is actively engaged in weather warfare studies again. So what could make that even crazier or worse? How about rain-making lasers could trigger showers on demand, 2010. Terra Mobile, the first mobile terawatt laser in the world for atmospheric studies and steering lightning. Yeah, that's right. They got this laser that not only can detect anthrax and could probably read what's in your chemtrails, it can steer lightning. So this is unchanneled natural arcing electricity, and this is with the laser passing through it. By the way, the Air Force has something called the Boeing YAL, airborne laser. If they fly that plane above a thunderstorm and shoot that laser through it, they can steer lightning bolts. That's right. So let's move along. Steering the rivers in the sky. What is an atmospheric river? Atmospheric rivers are exactly what they sound like. It's a large river of water that is in the sky. It's mostly, not visible to the eye. In order for them to even find them, they have to combine, many different, sensors where they literally, put the mimic together, the microwave stuff with the, the aerosol and the heat and the temperature and all that. And then, oh, look, there's the moisture plume. So this is what an atmospheric river looks like. And basically these are arms of water that extend from the equator, because that's where the majority of the water vapor is. And they reach up and they whiplash through. Some people call it a pineapple express. Go figure. But anyway, these atmospheric rivers, they're, fascinating. They're, it's new science. People are just starting to recognize it. And they're realizing that the cloud seeding is completely ineffective if there's no water there to begin with. So Aquiess, this company, says that they're able to steer the atmospheric rivers. They called them oceanic atmospheric rivers, OARs, or tropospheric rivers. Well, anyway, these rivers in the sky, that's where all the water is. Yes, it interacts with the jet stream, but steering the jet stream is not really what it's all about there. If you can steer these rivers, then you get to the water, and the water is blue gold. So Aquiess promises to be able to use atmospheric resonance technology that is protected by treaties and strict security protocols which surround the project. By the way, they deleted their website. So the only place to find it is to go over to archive.org, shout out the Wayback Machine. And as you can see here on their technology page, they got a nice picture of an X-RAD radar and some satellite crap. And, they go into all their details. Well, this website is now gone from the internet. Go figure. But these guys, they claim to have been successful in, Africa or in Australia. This was their target. And you can see here, precipitable moisture source coming in. This is the river. And they're saying they're going to steer it down here to Australia. 2005, 2007. Then, flash forward a little bit. Their other target was in Abu Dhabi. Oh, no, Qatar. So let's go over there. And that was in Africa. So here you go. Northwest Saudi target. Okay, there you go. And as you can see, here's their moisture coming in. And here's where they say they steered this large column of water over to there to end the droughts in the desert. Okay. Well, if that wasn't interesting enough, That program was called the Global Rain Project, or Rain Aid. You can look it up right here on ClimateViewer.com. And in there, all of their, I've gone through in each one of these, I've gone and I've linked them back to the deleted pages so that you can see each one of them, hopefully. And, you know, I'll have to update that one clearly. So each one of these talks about their resonance mechanism. And it's kind of like, you know, you ever saw that video of the bridge that just started wobbling and it wobbled too much and then it wobbled apart. They say that they can do the same thing by creating a concussive, I don't know, their secret technology to push the clouds the way they want them to go. And it says right here, signals are launched from ground-based servers to adjust the flight paths of weather systems. Ground-based stations, Aquiess has intervened in over 40 rainfall projects, many on massive scales. You see here, 2005, successful target, and 2011, that's the Rain Aid project over in Africa. Well, the CEO of their company said that in the US, they're trying to modify the ionosphere to get weather changes. His name is David Miles. And this is the interview right here. You can watch that. Well, here's where we bring it back to Texas. Aquiess comes to Texas. Now, there's this guy, David Kaczynski, and he's a retired colonel from the Air Force, and he owns a company called SciBlue. He also owns a company called New World Technologies and World Peace Technologies and Legacy Holdings, Inc., and a whole bunch more. He sprayed for the BP oil spill with his own custom-bred bacteria. He makes bottled water. He's a ninja. He's a sniper. He's a private investigator out of Texas. He's a real American hero. If you go look up his history, it is absolutely amazing. If you want the most fascinating guy I've ever heard of on the internet while doing my research, look into David Kaczynski. Anyway, he said fresh water has been dubbed blue gold in many publications, as potable water will be to this century what oil was to the last century. Less than 3% of the water on Earth surface is fresh water. When we deduct the amount of ice at each of the poles and the rivers flowing in uninhabited areas, that number is less than 1%. 1% of the world's water. From this, the nearly 7 billion people on Earth use to survive. So blue gold, remember that term. You're going to be hearing a lot about it over the next 100 years. Hopefully not 100 years. Hopefully just the short term. We'll fix it. But anyway, Mr. Kaczynski's company, SciBlue, partnered with Aquiess to bring their resonance technology to Texas and end the drought in 2012. The source for this, Texas Weather Modification Board, right here, tdlr.texas.gov/minutes/advisory board minutes, and then some numbers. You click the link, and you're going to hear that the presiding officer from the Weather Modification Council down there was asking to request for exemption status for a proposed rain enhancement project. And as you can see from Aquiess's own literature, they say proposed expanded 2012 Aquiess-SciBlue primary target. So David Kaczynski, SciBlue, applied for a Trans-Pecos region weather modification permit in Texas for the Red Bluff Water Control District in cooperation with SOAR. I'm not going to get into it. I've done my research. Go look up who SOAR is. If you're in Texas, you're going to be calling them after you hear this video. Well, anyway, Mr. Kaczynski's company, the U.S. Air Force company, SciBlue, partnered with Aquiess to bring this resonance technology to Texas to end the drought. Now, what they planned to do was feed moisture from the Gulf up to here. As you can see from their picture, this is the 7-day anomaly. This is the top of the chart, and you can see the whole state of Texas is anomalous, which means it has way more rain than it should. And they claim that they had great success. Aquiess is offering sovereign states an augmented rainfall capability as a part of its new regional toolbox to strengthen economies, replenish dry land agriculture, and improve food security. David Miles, dude in the video earlier who said that we're modifying the ionosphere in the US to control the weather. So anyway, the two of these companies got together and they said they were steering these rivers. Here's their success chart. This is the US Drought Monitor, January 2012 and in May of 2012. And as you can see clearly, there was a lot of rainfall. So is it working? Are they steering the clouds? Looks like it's working to me if you believe their literature. So, and they say right here, you know, here's the actual, you know, document. You can go over to archive.org. It will load up and you can see this is the Aquiess Rain Aid Project, technology to break the drought. And all this has been deleted from the internet. You can only get it on this article or way back, links provided. So you go down here to the very bottom, last page. This is where they're bragging about their other two successful campaigns. This is where this came from. So you can see the original source there. And yeah, they claim they did it. So the interesting part about all this, if you go over to the NOAA animations at the Earth System Research Lab, and you can look at the atmospheric river, they now have an automated atmospheric river detection system. I'm going to be collecting a whole bunch of these over the next, you know, month or two so that I can really start to fine tune my looking at them. But as you can see here, these are the predictions, what they expect, you know, when the arm is going to reach out again and touch us. Now, there have been many videos that I've watched on YouTube where people talk about there's blocking systems out in the Pacific and they're being blocked by HARP or SBX. A, HARP's off. B, SBX is docked. C, you might want to look into the guys who say they're actually steering and screwing with the rivers before you go looking out that direction. So the question remains, you know, California, which used to see this atmospheric river coming through LA constantly, it's now not coming. But it is visiting Texas. Texas is underwater. The guys from Texas claimed they were going to do just that. So at the end of the day, that's what you probably have. This is an animation of the last time the atmospheric river came through LA and through California. This happened from February 5th to February 9th. Whole state got drenched, was very, very ugly. Mayhem ensued. So a guy, Brave New World on Twitter, big shout out to you, man. Thank you so much for sending me this. After I published the article, sent me this. He said, and it's called Cal Water 2015. Coincidentally, which my article is completely about atmospheric rivers, at the AGU fall meeting, which I told all of the climate viewers about, you know, the geoengineering meeting at the AGU. At one of the presentations that was given there was called Refilling California's Reservoirs, the Storm Aerosols Connection Press Workshop. Now, I watched this whole thing, and basically it goes like this. They've already done a Cal Water one, which is an experiment where they go and they study these atmospheric rivers coming into California. And they learned a lot. And basically what they learned is this. Cloud seeding doesn't really work. But what does work is dust from Africa. And you should watch it. It's true. I've known this for quite a long time, and it's great to hear it. It's so refreshing for them to be waking up. But honestly, what they saw was two different occurrences of an atmospheric river. One where there was lots of dust and bacteria and viruses. That's right, dust, bacteria, and viruses. They were nucleating ice efficiently and making rain. The other atmospheric river that came through was filled with more pollution and, you know, smaller seeds from, you know, California. So basically it goes like this. If you put too many seeds into the cloud, the drops become so small that they can't actually form rain. So you actually have shot yourself in the foot. Cloud seeding may actually be the cause of the California drought. Don't quote me on it, but they may. I bet you they're going to end up admitting that at the end of the day to themselves, because when there is a super saturation of these seeds, then not enough water is able to attach to any one in particular to make rain. It's just making clouds. And that's what they learn. And you watch this whole video. I swear to God, you've got to watch this video. If you're into this subject, you're going to love it. At the end of it, the guy right here, he basically says, you know, Mother Nature, even the guy that did the study from the Sierra ground-based seeders, you know, the cloud seeding stuff to try to prove it's real and it works. He said, the head of the research project said, Mother Nature does a great job of seeding clouds on its own. And we could learn a lot from Mother Nature. And then right afterwards, the guy says, have you scheduled an atmospheric river for the time period of this new study that you're doing, CalWater 2015, which is supposed to happen between January and the end of February 2015? And no joke, the guy replied, well, the AGU does that for us. We put in a request. So it was a joke. He says, you know, I'm going to have the AGU make sure that the atmospheric river shows up when it needs to. And luckily for them, it did. It showed up between February 5th and 9th. So I'm sure they had a lot of fun with that. These guys were flying all kinds of planes. Watch the video. They're doing experiments on it. So they're going to be putting tracer aerosols in there and hitting it with lasers and flying through it with the storm tractor plane and all that stuff to try to figure this stuff out. But the bottom line is this. That river is not visiting California like it used to. And now it is visiting Texas. So I looked into it. They said they started April 16th, 2012 and went till around May for their initial thing. Coincidentally, 3 days before Aquiess said they started, 4 feet of hail dropped in Texas. Go look through these. I sat here and I did it for a little while and my mind was blown away. But dead people, stuff floating around away, you know, epic floods that have never happened, you know, tornado touches down after flooding, hail, and an earthquake. Wow, Texas, you guys are getting it rough. But the bottom line is people are modifying the weather in Texas. They're doing it every day they have for a very long time. There are probably people that are responsible for this, not even probably anymore. So some great footage of this from Harold Say's video right here. You can see the storm coming in. It does a real funky right about here. And you can see the trail right about here. And it just, boom, look at that monster coming down. Does that look normal to you? Does that look natural, man-made to you? Now watch, poof, be gone. So anyway, Aquiess, Blue, steering rivers in the sky, say that they're going to steer one to Texas, massive flooding, hail, ever since the day they said that they were going to start. Texas has been getting flooded. California has no rain. It seems like a no-brainer to me. If you're in the Texas or Oklahoma area, if you have a dead one, a dead family member, if you are flooded underwater and your house is upside down, I suggest that you contact the Texas Weather Modification Program here, weather.modification at tdlr.texas.gov. Here's their address and phone numbers. Ask them who was modifying the weather. Where were they doing it? What were they spraying? Demand accountability. This kind of stuff cannot continue to go on. We already have documentation that it was done. There is motive there. They say they're going to do it. And guess what? They're underwater. California has no water. Last point. This is not in the article. California's drought is the Dust Bowl 2.0. Okay? This has all happened before. Now, every single, climate change lunatic out there is blaming the drought on climate change. I'm going to give you a very simple exercise. During the Dust Bowl, the exact same thing happened. When the Dust Bowl occurred, devastation, unbelievably, just turned everybody's lives upside down. Martial law, confiscating people's property. But the thing that fixed the Dust Bowl was called the Great Plains Shelter Belt. And it's the most fascinating thing I've ever heard of. It's not talked about today, but in this world of we've got to use weather modification and we got to use cloud seeding, and now let's steer these oceanic atmospheric rivers, and let's do geoengineering to save us from global warming. I just would like to point out that By 1942, 220 million trees had been planted, stretching 18,600 miles, from Canada to the Brazos River. Even as of 2007, the federal response to the Dust Bowl, including the Prairie States Forestry Program, which planted the Great Plains Shelter Belt and creation of the Soil Erosion Service, represents the largest and most focused effort of the U.S. government to address an environmental problem to this day. It says even as of 2007. I don't know when this was written, but to this day. So this is the map. I mean, they planted trees, 220 million trees. And guess what? The Dust Bowl went away and everybody was happy. Today, California doesn't have any water. These guys are out in the, Pacific Ocean going, where'd the river go? Can we get the river back? And talking about their cloud seeding or how they could cloud seed the river now. And maybe they can figure out a better way to cloud seed the river and more rain will come. Plant a tree. Plant some trees. It's getting kind of ridiculous, people. So it's all happened before. Climate change happened before. And it was way worse. Go look up the Dust Bowl. If you see anything like that going on today, you tell me, but I don't see it going on. Isn't that bad now? And what did we do to fix it? 220 million trees. So get on these guys. Call and find out what the hell's going on, because, U.S. Air Force company, mixing with a company that has disappeared from the internet, that's claiming to steer atmospheric rivers using cooperation from government, authorities with international treaties associated with it. You can't get any bigger than this, people. So please, if you can, if you are a research-minded individual and you can provide me with any further links on this kind of stuff, I'm going to read it because I'm fascinated. I mean, this is fascinating. So please, look into the atmospheric river thing. Look into the guys that say that they're going to steer them around. And Texas, keep your head down, man. Really, really sucks. I hope that you all are well soon. And I'm going to go back to taking my break from all this. So you guys have a wonderful evening. And unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It's not. I love you, mean it.